Back on your tech report, Marc and Mitchell with you each and every single week. So a couple of weeks ago, I was actually in Italy on vacation, March break with the kids, and Apple announced 7 new products. Lots of variations of different things, new processors, lots of fun stuff. Obviously, 17E kind of, I guess, one of the focal points people are talking about. I always find these entertaining, these E editions of phones, because they have the latest generation processors. They just there's certain things that just aren't there. Like, I mean, this one, honestly, I couldn't even, it's the screen really that's the difference at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The amount of memory. I mean, everything else on the phone is, the bezel is slightly thicker than some of the other devices.
Right.
But
And the single camera system, but
single camera system, but I mean, they've refined this Fusion camera system so much over the years that really at the end of the day, unless you have a real need to go for these Ultra Pro models or the large XL versions of phones, waiting for this E edition of a phone is actually probably the smartest economical move. And also, I think, drives a lot of sales for Apple, and does so at a time when people aren't necessarily paying attention to phones. Like, we've talked about the Samsungs, we've talked about the new Apple phones, back in September. Now it's like March. It's like, hey, let's throw another phone here for people who are going to be upgrading, and it does drive a lot of sales.
It does, and Apple is offering something that we don't usually associate. It's a word we don't associate with Apple. That word is value. And, I shouldn't say that, because even value is a measure of what you get for the money. It's not a measure of price. I've talked about that for a long time. So of course I jest, but, the value proposition is getting a lot for your money and having it at a reasonable price, or coming in at a reasonable price point, I should say, is not Apple's MO. They will give you an incredible piece of hardware and you will pay for it, but you'll feel good because of what you get in return. But to get this much from a phone, like you say, and again, it's not like, usually they'd skimp out in certain ways like memory. Because as we know, memory is expensive right now, both on the RAM side and the storage side. So to have, and I think the base, it's like 256 gig for the base.
Let me rattle off the specs. Okay,
yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Number one, $599 entry level price point. Same overall design as a previous model, but adds some upgrades as you talked about. A19 chip with a 6-core CPU and 4-core GPU. Performance is 2 times faster than the iPhone 11. 16-core neural engine, so you've got the optimization for Apple Intelligence and AI in general. MagSafe is back. We lost MagSafe last time. MagSafe is now back, so now you can have all your magnetic accessories with 15 watts of wireless charging. So not the 25 that we see on the current models of 15.
Okay,
as you said, the base storage doubled to 256 from the 128. We've got Apple's designed C1X modem, which has faster cellular performance, Ceramic Shield 2 on the actual display itself, so that's 3 times better scratch resistance, better screen durability. You've got a 48 megapixel rear Fusion camera, which performs incredibly well. The detail is quite astonishing, to be perfectly honest, off of a single camera like this. And battery life up to 26 hours with faster wired charging as well, reaching about 50% in 30 minutes. So what didn't change, I guess, is the question. We still got that iPhone 14 design with a notch, so dynamic island. We've got a 60 hertz display, so no ProMotion, no 120 hertz, which means also always on isn't always great. And that single lens camera, really, at the end of the day. So it's like flagship specs with certain sacrifices that really, I think, the most everyday users won't even care about it or miss it.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I think these things that you're talking about that are missing, well, I say missing, that this phone doesn't have, because as you said, I don't think a lot of people are going to miss them. It depends. If they're not a power user, they're not necessarily going to miss them. It brings up something that we talk about a lot, which obviously makes me spit a little because it gives me joy. We talk
what
about
doesn't?
What exactly things that make me drool are a good thing. It means I like the product. We talk about when a company puts out something so good at a lower level, they risk cannibalizing the sales of their more expensive brethren. So I ask you, why would you necessarily buy a base new iPhone? I'm not talking about the Pro model. This could replace the base iPhone, and then the Pro model would have all the extra features that we're talking about. I think that's the direction that we're going, because at this point, it feels that way. And it also feels like it's going to get really confusing for consumers. Like, okay, how do you explain the 17E versus the 17 versus, what? And it's going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to explain it easily. If you can't explain something easily to a consumer, they're just going to go, it's too I don't want to deal with it. So
I
Yeah,
feel
go
that.
ahead.
I feel that, and I think it's no better demonstrated by the next product which was released, which is the MacBook Neo, because
Yes.
the MacBook Neo is the same price point as the iPhone 17e, so entry level price of $599. Okay,
Right.
it's Apple's cheapest cost laptop ever. Okay, and it adds MacBooks now to the same price range as low-cost Windows laptops and Chromebooks. So, what's on board this device? Well, you've got an A18 Pro chip, which is the same chip that was used in the iPhone 16 Pro, which is outperforming the M1 MacBooks and the M1 chip when it came out.
And most PCs, by the way, but yeah, go ahead.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the first Mac ever powered by an iPhone class chip, but really all the A chips are still the same architecture as the M chips. They call it designed for everyday browsing and schoolwork and light editing, but people who are running benchmarks and pushing this are pushing the gaming element of things and comparing it to the M2 MacBook Air. You've got 8 gigs of unified memory, 256 gigs base storage, 16 hours of battery life, a 1080p camera, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 6. So you want to talk about blurring the lines in a lineup? This is where I'm really confused, or this is the groundwork being laid for a completely revamped computer ecosystem lineup change, I think.
Absolutely. And I think the analogy when we talk about this, I do my gaming podcast with Jamie Stegmeyer. We talk about things and we do the same thing, Mark, where we'll start to talk about things and get excited and say, save it for the show, save it for the show. And I think the analogy I used with you was I see a lot of what Apple is doing with their ecosystem, with their product line, very similar to what DJI has done. It's, and I think there's been a lot of comparable points over the years with these two companies. The DJI drones over the years, the Mavic drone, for example, was their consumer drone, and then they had these other enterprise bigger drone. And over the years, the Mavic suddenly became their flagship drone, and the less expensive ones started becoming their mid-range, because they got even the lower end ones got so powerful, they started replacing the ones that were ahead of them. And I think that's what we're seeing exactly with this laptop lineup. Now, the Neo, is it the Neo? I keep on forgetting.
It is the Neo. It is the Neo.
I keep on forgetting. The Neo is really what the MacBook Air originally was and set out to be, which was an entry-level laptop that was great for doing everything that a power user wouldn't need, like if you were doing hardcore video editing, if you were doing hardcore CAD design, these are things that would require maybe, something more. But you look at the Neo now, it's more powerful than the MacBook Air from, a couple of years ago was.
100%.
The MacBook Air, which again, I'm not trying to get away from the Neo for a second, but I'm talking about the domino effect of when these product lines get boosted a little bit. The MacBook Air now, with the M5 chip, has been it's been favorably compared to the Pro with that same M5 chip. The main difference being it doesn't have the fans inside. So basically, it's the fans inside the MacBook Pro that are now differentiating it from the Air. So you won't have as much thermal throttling, so you'll have more consistent high-end performance. But in the mid-range performance, the Air and the Pro are almost identical. And now you have a Neo that's boosted up phone processor, but that phone processor, as you said, was more powerful than many computers over the last several years. So we're seeing the lines blurred. And as you said, Mark, I think we're going to see product lines completely change, especially with the bringing on of like this, something on the new top end, which would be a touchscreen MacBook Pro as well. So, or touchscreen MacBook
Ultra, which
Ultra,
is
I won't even call it Pro. That's why I had to stop
So
myself.
here's how I see it, and tell me if you think I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll all know it's together at some point. So you got the entry level MacBook Neo, which is going to evolve, and it'll probably get an M chip, or they'll keep calling it an A chip for whatever purposes. So there's your entry level, there's your education, there's basically your MacBook Air replacement. Now I think, I almost think the MacBook Air is going to maybe disappear, like maybe the MacBook Pro takes on the MacBook Air form. Maybe they call it a MacBook Air and they really boost up the specs a little bit, still without the thermal throttling, and they get rid of the Pro line and they call the MacBook Ultra or maybe the MacBook Pro becomes this ultra more high-end laptop that still has the fans, maybe still gets a bit thinner because battery technology is getting thinner, maintains a new fan design, gets that touchscreen which lets it separate. So you have three lines. You've got the Neo, you've got the Air, and you got the Pro, and this way you're not adding another line called the Ultra, but you're shifting the use cases for all these. Because I think people even going out there now trying to buy a pro level computer, they can do all that stuff with a beefed up MacBook Air. They can. It's just it's not even it's not even a question. And where the Pro will stand out is when people need that Thunderbolt 5 and like 5 external monitors, and because when you configure a MacBook Pro with the new M5 chips that were also announced a couple weeks ago, these are hitting $7,000-$8,000. This is insane prices, and nothing in the form factors changes. It's really just performance and processing.
I was going to say, you have to justify if you're charging that kind of money, you have to justify that money somehow. And when you have stuff behind it that's creeping up in terms of performance at a fraction of the price, you really have the pressure put on you to justify that price point, don't you?
I mean, you have to. You have to. I mean, listen, I'm using an M2 Max MacBook Pro as my daily MacBook. So it's when I'm traveling in the house, if I'm upstairs, not near my desktop, which is still a Mac Mini M4. And it's doing everything I needed to do. There's nothing the only thing that in the new MacBook Pros, which, by the way, were also refreshed. They've got the M5 Pro, the M5 Max chips. They've got a new Fusion architecture, so the chips are done a bit differently. 18-core CPU, 30% faster CPU, up to 40 cores on the M5 Max. Listen, it's beefed up across the board.
Yeah.
But the things that make it super interesting to me, there's a couple things. Number one is the SSD speeds are insanely fast. They're like double the speeds. And that's important when you're editing 4K, 6K files, okay? So that's something that's super interesting to me. Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, always interesting because faster connectivity, not the Bluetooth as much as the Wi-Fi, definitely there. And as a result, all the battery life increases that you get with all these things. Those are the three things that say, oh, it would be fun to have this. Is it a necessity? No, I'm still perfectly fine with my Thunderbolt 4 on my M2. So do I do something now, or do I just wait a year and see, okay, let's wait for this to really be refreshed when it's diminishing returns, right? I could trade my current MacBook Pro in, but I'm not going to get a lot for it. So I'm better off waiting, getting myself something that really is a substantially different device, maybe touchscreen, who knows what it is. And then I do the hand-me-down process here with my, my kids and stuff like that.
Right.
So again, I don't know if those three items are big enough items on a checklist to warrant going out and upgrading a computer today.
You know what's really funny, Mark? If you go back, that's my rewind noise. I've just upset thousands of people, hopefully. If you go back to our conversations, we had this exact conversation about the iPad
every
lineup.
year.
No, but I mean
the
iPad lineup in terms of the confusion now being caused by the fact that the MacBook, the base MacBook has gotten super strong. Okay. The MacBook, the base iPad has gotten super strong. The iPad Air is now what the iPad Pro used to be. If you think about how the iPad Air has evolved and how powerful it's gotten, how sleek it's gotten, the choices you have now in terms of cases and design, everything, it's gotten that little zhuzh, that little push, right? So who are we really appealing to now, and what are we telling people when we put a Pro name on something? It's getting confusing because, again, the other things in the lineup have gotten so capable, it's almost a misnomer to put a Pro on a higher level item because professionals would be totally happy using a MacBook Air, the new MacBook Air. They'd be totally happy using the iPad Air. So we might see the names change, and again, maybe the MacBook Air just becomes the MacBook. And they take away the Air because it's sort of misleading in the fact that, it's a less than, because it's not anymore. It's not the entry level anymore. So they may have to do a new naming ethic for their lineup, both with the iPads and the MacBooks. So I think that's yet to come. I think we're just we're seeing when the dust settles, as they say, we'll see where the confusion lies, what the consumer reaction is, where the purchases are being made. And I think that will really determine where they go, which part of the lineup they sort of keep supporting and pushing, and what names they decide to go with, which as of right now are not only confusing, but a little bit misleading.
Yeah. I feel like it's almost every 2 years we have this discussion.
We do.
And it's not only us. Everybody talks about it. They talk about the confusion in the lineup, and then a year goes by, and then we see some kind of understanding of it, and it makes sense, and it irons out. Then another, half model gets released, and it's not only an Apple thing. I think this is something that Samsung does a bad job. Everybody, it's not that they're doing a bad job. I think it's just that you're trying to look forward, but you can't forget the people who are still there in the current generation. So it's a little bit more challenging in that aspect of things. The other products that were announced from Apple, we've got a new iPad Air with the M4 chip, increased RAM, Wi-Fi 7, more.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Exactly. And exactly. And a new studio display with Thunderbolt 5, which I'd love to get a studio display, but the price tag is just...
Well, there are two. There's the XDR, and then there's the regular studio. They have two new displays coming out.
Yes.
One is more affordable, so to speak.
So the studio display at $15.99 and the studio display XDR at $32.99. Now, I've bought these before for production installs.
Right.
They're phenomenal screens.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Like, they're super color accurate. If you're video editing, you're recording, you're streaming, these are phenomenal monitors. Those prices, though, it's hard because other companies that have been doing monitors for a very long time, compete with it really, really well.
They do, and I'm hoping at some point, because again, as good as the Apple monitors are, I really think they're leaning toward those are the items that lean to me more toward the professional user. And it's the product line that's the most specific. And what I mean by that is they don't give you a lot of choice, and they never have. It's like, here you go. Here's a monitor. Here's the size that we think you should use. You're going to love it. You can have a screen that does glare, no glare, whatever. Great. This is the monitor. Now they have two to choose from. I would still love to see them go for an ultra wide. I would love to see Apple's take on an ultra wide. And that's a little selfish because that's the monitor that I use on the daily, and that's the monitor I just replaced in my new LG monitor, both for gaming and for productivity, is still an ultra wide with an OLED display and very 0.03 millisecond. It's crazy. The response time is crazy. I'd love to see Apple's take on an ultra wide so that they give all sorts of users, because I've gotten so used to the ultra wide now because again, for productivity, you can have your browser over here. I can have, Marc without my studio right in the middle. I can have another document up on the right, and you could see my eyes scanning, and that's how big this monitor is. And this isn't even a big ultra wide. It's a 34 inch. But I'd like to see, for people that have gotten used to the workflow of a widescreen, I'd love to see Apple's take on that. Of course, it would probably be prohibitively expensive, but I'd still like to see one that they put out.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to tune into Your Tech Report every week on SiriusXM, and you can go to YourTechReport.com for all our interviews. And if you like this content, do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more.